All right, folks, very good afternoon to each and every one of you. And saying Elizabeth Kith and Elizabeth Kith, Errol Crawford. A very good afternoon to each and every one of you. Wherever you folks are joining us from, we're happy you guys are here with us. Do let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear from your end. Do let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear to your end. Folks, do let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear. We're to have each and every one of you there. Loud and clear from Pleasance. Good afternoon, folks. Anesta Abridge and Sing. Great to have you guys with us today. All right. Good to have you folks here with us. From the multiplicity of places you guys are joining us from. Good to have you folks here with us. Philomena Fontanelle. Siobhan McDonald says loud and clear from Florida. Great to have each and every one of you here, good folks. We love it that you folks are here with us. We got a couple of things to share with you guys. Gonna give you guys a chance to catch yourselves, come up to scratch, and then we're going to push on. But good to have each and every one of you guys here with us. Great to have each and every one of you here. Good to have you folks here with us, wherever you all are joining us from. All right, wherever. Good folks joining us from. Paula Phillips, good day to you too. Donna Liverpool, good day to you. Mohammed Ramjohn, good to see you, Mohammed. Send you some cyber hugs. Only Leon, definitely you need it. Sending you some cyber hugs today. Mohammed, earn your money, earn your money, earn your money. earn your money, Mohammed. We don't want to see you out of a walk. So earn your money, Mohammed. Earn your money. Clear Alexis Charmley. Good to have you here with us. And all the other folks joining us. Great to see you folks. All the other beautiful folks joining us. Good to have you guys on with us on the live. Great to have you folks on the live. I don't know how we said. Good to have you guys on the live. Good to see you folks on the live. How y'all doing now? How y'all doing? We good? We good, folks? We good? All right. Good to see so many of you on the live. Wherever you're joining me from. Just happy. We're just happy y'all on the live. Troy Boyce and all the other guys who are joining us. Let's get to some of the things we're covering. I've been bubbling a little while now. We've been bubbling a little while. Look, some of the things we're following today, guys. Audrey Winner, Troy Boyce, Marcel Williams, Carletta Ronalds. See, Ann Singh is here. Troy Bruce, June Cameron. Good to have you too. Troy and June and all the other guys who joined us. Great to have each and every one of you. Ann Singh is here as well. Good to see you, Ann. Philomena Fontenelle. Good to have you. Trump. You know, there's a possible gag order, they're telling us. A possible gag order hanging over Trump. Right? You know, listen to me. Give it to a man like Trump. Even in the wrong, Trump fight you. Imagine those of us, June Cameron, who know the truth. Trump out front fighting tooth and nail. Totally in the wrong. But fighting nonetheless. Some of we just start this thing. And we want to give up. We want to give up. You better catch yourself. And we're picking this particular story up from Newsweek. You know, it's about the place. Picking up from Newsweek. And they're telling us that Republican commentators have reacted with disgust to reports that a gagging order may be placed on Donald Trump to prevent him from commenting on his indictment. Republicans described it as insanity and despicable. Folks, it happens to the best of us. Brenda Moore, it happens to the best of us. I got a gagging order me right now. That matter concerning the May and I. You remember when we stood up for the vendors there at the Georgetown Hospital? Yeah. The judge forbid us to speak on the matter publicly. It's a little traffic violation. That's what's on a lot of us, a little traffic violation. Yep. But yet, we are not being allowed to speak on the matter. But yet, it is what it is, folks. It is what it is. We ain't gonna fret too much. We ain't gonna fret too much. It is what it is. We could fret, but we ain't gonna fret too much. So there's a possible gagging order looming over Trump. As we come closer in the region, Antigua and Barbuda. The folks turned up for court today in Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda is not a real place. The people couldn't find the keys to open the court doors. This look a little thingish to me. Folks, Kiana still a little goodish. Margaret Morris, case files is go missing. The file jackets and so on. The case jacket and so on is go missing. The case jacket and so on, Gloria Gordon is go missing. But in Antigua and Barbuda, the keys to open the court door. So they had to cancel a whole host of court appearances today because folks just couldn't find the keys to get into the magistrate's courts in St. John's down there in Antigua. And this is being reported on by the St. John's, the Observer there in Antigua and Barbuda. I actually visited the office of the Observer when I was in St. John's quite recently. So, is he as reported news from? All matters in the St. John's Magistrates Court are adjourned because the entire building is locked. The keys have reportedly been misplaced. Magistrates, lawyers, staff Defendants and other individuals have been outside all morning. Some have been there as early as 7 a.m. What they can tell me? Sandra Ford said, oh shit. Sandra, what they can tell me? A jacket here and there might go missing. Honesta Wardine. Right. We are picking up on that. Right? Lynette Scotland says, I'm putting Ogunseye on the back burner. You think so, Lynette? Right? We're saving the best for last. Ogunseye is right there. Lynette says we've been putting Ogunseye in the back burner. Never. We all in this struggle together. All in this struggle together. Hold on and tell me if you think the same thing by the time we get to the end of the program. Hold on. You can tell me if you feel the same way, Lynette. Hold that thought. So the people couldn't get into the magistrate's court. You know, they might be giving them guys here some they might be giving them boys here some ideas. They might be giving the boys here some ideas. Don't do it. Antigua and Barbuda couldn't find the keys for the courts. Yep. Couldn't find the keys for the courts. Things different out there in Antigua and Barbuda. Beautiful island. If you get a chance to visit, folks, don't stay here and stress over these people all the time. You know, get a little vacation, work for your money, make your money. Work for your little money and see some places. Get a change of scenery every now and again. Refire and come again. Right? Just not beating out somewhere for a couple of mornings. Of course, y'all can be there with me. You got to refine and come again. Antigua is a beautiful country. Antigua and Barbuda, Twin Island. A beach every day in the year. You got a little nice money to pass through, but you can tell here. Right? And interregional travel seems to be picking up and getting a tad bit cheaper. But if you get a chance to visit, folks, don't just walk and dead. Don't just walk and die. You see? See a couple places in your lifetime. See a couple places in your lifetime. Don't waste the passport. Don't waste it. Chanel Moses watching us from the west side. 3,000 nurses, they tell us, to be trained in 3 years. That looks very nice. That looks very nice, Auntie Sandra. Right? Auntie Sandra, that looks very nice on paper. But I don't know if 3,000 nurses can stay here and work for the pittance. So I'm happy that we are going to be training our nurses for export. God knows some of the other exports aren't doing too hot out there, given the mismanagement of this regime. God knows. So we must be training some of our nurses for export. Because I don't know if Auntie Sandra had a chance to do it over if she do it the same way. I'm certainly not under the Jagabats and the trench crappers. Certainly not. Weren't they supposed to be announcing some increase for nurses since budget in February? They said something parked in the budget, somewhere tucked in. So 300 nurses to be trained in 3 years. It sounds good. Oh, them boys good at that. Them boys good at nicely sounding things. Betsy Freeze, I see you there. Saw that comment, Betsy. It sounds nice. Bantu King says, I guess nurse training had stopped. Just another political gimmick. Well, they stop it in Linden at least. There's too many nurses coming from Linden. My mother was trained at that hospital there in Linden. Right? Remind me of the name of the training school. I'm seeing it right there in my mind's eye. My aunt was trained there. Some good folks. Another aunt trained right there in Linden. I don't know if in this day and age, now that we're making money as a country, if them nurse thing and take that. So we're going to be creating wonderful nurses for export. And as Auntie Sandra asks, what kind of nurses are they training? That's another story. Because you know, especially those nurses who are on the live, when you were trained in that old school, you are well trained. Thank you, Margaret. Margaret says it's the Charles Rosa. It was right there. The Charles Rosa School of Nurses. There's too much Londoners becoming trained nurses. They shut it down. When you used to be trained in that old system, you come out good, you know. And Charles Rosa was perhaps the best at training, if not in Guyana, the region, I dare say so. Charles Rosa, I think what South Road Daycare was to daycares. That was like a model daycare, they tell us. South Road Daycare. 20 people used to want to children go to South Road. That is what Charles Rosa Nursing School was to the nurses. Well trained. So 3,000 nurses being trained. It looked nice. Right? But it's who in this one Guyana? I heard the mayor over the weekend says it's one circle, is now one Guyana. It's one circle of people getting everything. That's what the mayor said over the weekend. You look good on paper, but the reality, different. Them boys, different. And saving the best for last, our brother Tokuma Ogunseye, they tell us, was granted 100,000 bail on these trumped up charges of inciting racial hostility. You know, I can go back and I can show you missed attempts by the PPP at really and truly speaking out. A whole host of people publicly said some of the most outrageous things about Afro-Guyanese in this country. PPP ain't say nothing. PPP ain't say a goddamn thing. They ain't say a thing. But when their political opponents say something that they don't find appealing, and there can be plenty things, when you're speaking the truth, then they start coming after you. So Tokuma, our brother, was released on $100,000 bail, I think at the Sparendam Magistrate Court this morning, where he made an appearance. Yep. And we want to show you some of what went on there at that magistrate's court at Sparendam today, where that appearance was had.
Mr. Ogunseye, were you harassed?
No, they gonna say nothing.
No? Okay.
They say nothing.
Didn't take out my shackles. Mr. Gunsi, were you harassed? No, they got sign on the block. No, no. Okay. They sign on the block. Didn't take out my shackles. Mr. Gunsi, were you harassed? No, they got sign on the block. No, no. Okay. They sign on the block.
Correct is right. I see some folks helping us along. The vigilance. That was at the Vigilance Magistrates Court. We got the corridor right. The Vigilance Magistrates Court. Some of that took place, and the leader of the opposition was right on hand this morning and give some comments to the media that we want to share with you folks. Again, the leader of the opposition was on the ground there and shared some thoughts with the journalists who were on the ground at the time. And we're picking up from some of the that broadcast by our brother Kadaki Amsterdam from CAMS TV. We're picking up on some of his coverage and the comments. Forgive us, at some points the audio is a little low. You'll forgive us for that. But the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey C. Norton, leader of the People's National Congress Reform, was on the ground and spoke with the media during the release of our brother Tokuma Ouni. And this is what the leader of the opposition said. Take a look, folks, and take a listen.
I assume that the issue of wanted after you have investigated and there is enough evidence to some criminal charge against the person. But in all these cases we've seen so far, they're arresting people, they're abusing the 72-hour incarceration, keeping them in jail for 72 hours. And then when they're out, you're still investigating. The PNC has members who get charged for all kinds of things, and until now a case cannot be called. So the first thing that needs to be underscored is that it's clearly a case of instilling fear. It's clearly a case of trying to induce stress by having people report to the police, etc. It's also a manifestation of the politicization of the police force. Let's assume that you've charged Tokuma Ouni for inciting racial hostilities. There's a video that everybody saw with somebody named Imran saying he would kill all black people. What he wouldn't do. Where is Mr. Hicken and the police force? They are taking political instructions. And because they are taking political instructions, there's a selective use of the law. Now, in a democratic society, you cannot have this selective use of the law. And so, it should be clear to all that this is not about maintaining law and order. This is a political witch hunt aimed at intimidating kinds of all strata of life once they oppose the government. You see what is happening with Mike McCormack. What various states supported the government. You are not as a member, but they're going after you because he makes a statement that they're not competent with. And so you're seeing a regime that is increasingly repressive. You're seeing a regime that is authoritarian. And therefore, what one should recognize by now is that the law no longer matters. What matters is Jack Leo and the PPP's perception of who should be harassed and who should not be harassed. And so they continue to harass, they continue to instill fear, and they use all different methods to do it. Today it's the police, but they have now part-time workers who are there sending instructions to turn up to PPP activities, and they must go, and they use those pictures to say, look, we I saw Mandela saying we're getting multiracial support. He's a fool. He's fooling himself. If you employ people for $40 to $50,000 and you insist that they go to these activities, you have to be an idiot to believe that that is political support. It isn't. It is the use of state power to achieve PR results. And so at these activities, they are parading African Guyanese, as in the days of slavery, when it's chattel and you're selling, and then they advertise it as they are making inroads into the African Guyanese community. The critical issue with Ogunseye is this, and I've said it before, I didn't approve of his choice of language, but I approve of his message. His message is there is widespread discrimination in this society, and that's what the government needs to deal with. If you look recently at the press, you will see the Minister of Agriculture awarding contracts. In the picture, if you find an African guy, you have a lot of skills. We've seen the Minister of Agriculture meeting contractors. In the picture, there's one African guy, and all the rest is a one. And there's one in which the Minister of Affairs is meeting. Again, 59%. And this is the issue that Tokuma Ouni raised. And it's entirely amazing that the government is discriminating this. I don't like when we talk about developing a state. If you just draw those pictures of them in my phone, you'll see that it is one. The PPP is continuing to do what it did in the first 20 years, second 20 years, and then they put up and operate as if, well, Guyana started in 2015 when the APNU came to power, and operate as if we should have solved all the problems that they created in 20. So, it number they are making that this child is another station use of police and strengthening solve. Then he never be showing that he has no intention of repenting. He is a coward. So once his appointment is dependent on the opposition, he is dead meat. Restricting implementation because you start political act. Political act taken will not be discussed. on you so you can train. Secondly, $6 billion being given away in contracts to one ethnic group.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. Let me let you know that we're going to try to get some better audio on that for you guys. We're going to ensure we get some better audio on that footage from this morning and Mr. Norton. But as we're on that, the Institute for Discrimination for Action Against Discrimination, the Institute for Action Against Discrimination, over the weekend held an event, and part of that institution is Mr. Lincoln Lewis, who himself and family have been subject to discrimination, lands bequeathed to them by their ancestors that they can trace back in family documents to ancestors who were once enslaved, being denied them by this installed regime. Can you trace back to your could you trace back to your family, through your family, back to the 1800s? They have been able to preserve that kind of history. They have been able to preserve that kind of history in their family. Yep. They've been able to do that, preserve that kind of history in their family, and show that their forefathers who were once slaves bought lands at Kingley, for instance. And the government does not want to recognize their rightful ownership of those lands. Right? Do let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear. Oh, Peggy Laya says it's best. Right? Don't call. Don't call. Peggy Peggy, can you trace your family history? That's how far back these folks can trace their family history, right? And that's how they know that they're being shortchanged. They got the title, the transport to the land, the transport to the land, and people still trying to what do you call that? Disempower them. The title they got for the land. So here is Mr. Lincoln Lewis during that event over the weekend. Here's Mr. Lewis during that event and some of what he had to say in his presentation on discrimination in our country. Here's Mr. Lewis.
I come tonight or this evening to tell you a few things. Let me say, fellow Guyanese, good evening. This happened to be our second meeting of the Institute for Action Against Discrimination. The acronym is IAAD, but I tell you, it's the Institute for Action Against Discrimination. And we are happy tonight that we are at Golden Grove, a proud village, bought initially by free slaves in the post-emancipation period. I know for a fact that many of you came from various locations to share this moment with us in unity of purpose and expression of our pain and anguish in the human rights and other abuses of the PPP regime, that the PPP regime meted out for our people. We have to stand up. We have to relax. And when I say our people, I mean all Guyanese. We are being hurt and slowly destroyed by the PPP regime. Hungry, thirsty for power and total domination. They don't care the hell about it, as long as they get total power, control, and dominate all. Even as we gather here today, I advise all of our speakers and all Guyanese to awake to the PPP tactics of distraction. Be wise, focused, vocal, and resistant to their attempt to subjugate and enslave us. We fight slave owners who fought slavery, they fought indentureship, we ain't going back there. We cannot have what we call the new enslavers, the new indentured leaders, or the new colonials. We cannot have it. We finally passed the period already, and we're not going back there. We're not going back there. Let me say it to you. Give no reason or the slightest opportunity for them to take the spotlight off of the real terrorists among us. Give no reason, don't allow them to take the spotlight off the real terrorists among us. Their covert and overt criminal acts, their oppression, anti-democratic practices, state-sanctioned murders, and police excesses, they take their fake and uneven development and cooking the developers, their friends of notoriety and infamy, and lead that their provocation of violence in this land that will threaten the interests of all. We have to take everything that these people do. They are corrupt. and they want to co-opt this society. Let me tell you something. This has become a country where men are convicted and should be in prison when they walk in the street. When you reach that stage, you have to understand where you are. You are in a nation that has been corrupted by your people. Today, we accuse the PDP of discrimination. But today, I posit that state discrimination is an act of political violence, and we must see that as political violence. The PDP regime enacts policies that hurt and destroy human resources and the very fabric of our society. They destroy hopes and aspirations of a large segment of our population, and we must challenge these policies and programs that are contrary to the well-being of our kindness. We have to fight. We have to stand up. I want to tell you something. I know they're looking. And let me tell you something, and they're taking. I want you to understand. I am relenting. Civil society and international community and others are being called on to take note of what is happening here and come together, speak out, and avert the potential of disruption in our developmental process and harm to our vulnerable. At this time, comrades, I condemn the treatment meted out to WPA member Tokuma Ouni, who the police have held over the weekend. I say there must be better means by which Chinese facing police charges are treated. These are modern times, and our judicial system was put in place systems whereby citizens do not have to be detained longer than is necessary. This must cease. It is time to put in place a 24/7 service. Unnecessary detention in itself is a form of punishment that may be wrong in terms of whether the detainee is found guilty or not. Time for prison reform and time for the PDP to stop using the judicial system to enact political vengeance. They're vindictive. They're vindictive. And let me tell you something. All of them. Don't tell me that this one is bad and the other one is good. All of them, what they're doing is protecting the privileged position and class. I raise my voice in a call for Tokuma Ouni to be freed and not used to send a message to other Guyanese that they are not free to express political opinion. The pettiness of the PPP must stop. We know too well that there are others in society whom the police would dare not even touch, even in instances where murders and other serious crimes occur. They won't touch them. The untouchables. But they take the damning palace, the poor, the downtrodden. It is violence. And I say again, it is violence when the government of a country seeks ways and means to detain and imprison citizens on trumped-up charges, hiding gang laws to limit freedom of expression. We see this in the recent case of the young citizens charged for terrorism following a protest that left Aslington East Coast to Mariah, heading to Georgetown, that became thwarted and went awry as they were attempting to pass through the PPP stronghold of Monday. Barajabio said the charge is meant to send a message. Well, I want to tell you something. I am sending a message to you. It is a political, physical, economic, social, psychological violence when the government bulldoze the homestead of our most vulnerable in society. Damaging homes, businesses, businesses, property, animal and plants, and plant life. And shortly after, move into the management office of the main opposition. These people are wicked, vindictive, and we must call it for what it is. These another countless other violent action of the PPP, such as denying opposition supporters equal economic opportunity, substantial contracts, and benefit of cash transfer, and financial support during disaster are known to all Ghanaians. It is the PPP way of saying to opposition supporters that they are in the wrong lane and have no right to freedom of association. They have committed these acts of violence against sections of the labor force, denying them the basic right to collective bargaining. In a land, comrade, in a land of less than 1 million people, this nation has just unveiled a prison house to house over 600 inmates. This act is heralded by the government as achievement. Can you imagine a government building prison and talking that is an achievement? My God, Jesus Christ, oh my God, what is happening here? And they don't see it. They don't see it as something unfortunate. That's no problem. Rather than heralding new prisons and developing, we should be developing programs to lift people out of the morass that influence behaviors leading to incarceration. They don't see that. In recent times, a number of wanted bulletins have been issued. This is unprecedented. And we must ask if this is the PPP new strategy to criminalize a section of the population and create a constant flow of persons to prison where many may lose their rights. A growing number of citizens are now being perceived and labeled as terrorists, where the nation will recall the suffering of Mark Anthony Benska, and Oliver Inslee. The former was left to languish in the filthy, overcrowded concrete jail and lost 5 years of his freedom, and that of one of his children, even as one died as he was incarcerated. These are acts of violence and must be condemned. No one should suffer unduly more than the likely fine or time he will serve. Each must be held innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, not court of public opinion. But the PPP plan is to label African Guyanese as terrorists and place them on the brink of society. Even as they do this, they have no answers to the many complaints of the police taking bribes, being corrupt, and acting as judge and jury. They have little value for human life. And we must never forget the scores of bodies gone down in the streets and backlands of Guyana under the Jack regime. The butcher from unity, rather than taking cows, sheep, and goats to human beings. Let me tell you something. Rather than using the police to carry out a dastardly act, rather than using police to carry out a dastardly act and causing them to be taking bribes on the street, the first thing that should be looking is to pay them a decent salary that they do not have to go to the time. It is time. They can only have. They eat nothing. why the police get nothing. It is violence when they deny many among us the right to work and the right to earn. This type of political and economic violence has been done to many public servants and GCOM workers post-2020 elections. Mind you, those who are so denied have no welfare support to render them financial assistance, and they experience problems in meeting their financial obligations. These people don't care. They don't bloody care. Calvin London is one such who has suffered at the hands of the PPP, who spared no measure in damaging the reputation and integrity of this young African professional in the public domain. East London is placed before the court on trump of charges for doing what he was employed to do. The Jaguar evil has been allowed to swamp this nation. We have moved from death spot, narco militarization, and narco-related murders to wanton discrimination and attempts to destroy black professionals and the black business class. The PPP regime has a historical record of skillfully creating conditions for societal violence and disruption, even to the detriment of the main supporters. They don't care if the groups, Africans and East Indians, clash and many die, blood flow and many die. They don't care as long as they eat mutton when we get nothing. No longer must we remain silent in the presence of such abuse and violence against the working class citizens of this country. Civil society, the international community, and others are being called on to take note of what is happening here and come together, speak out, and avert the potential of disruption in the development process and harm for most vulnerable. We will be Jadio's worst nightmare. But we will expose him and the Ali regime and the rights abuse. He and Cabal must never rest in peace once we cannot rest in peace. We must keep them busy. We must keep them on their toes, making them uncomfortable. Enough is enough. The PPP, by its very act, is guilty of political violence and must take responsibility for the rising tension and conflicts in society. We have to create, brothers and sisters, the space and opportunities for frank, honest, and open conversation on the state of affairs in our country. We have to be our brothers and sisters people. We have to join hands against a wicked government bent in dividing the people through several discriminatory actions as they threw crumbs to a few to buy silence and quiet complicity. Only a united force can we, as a United States, get success. Let me tell you, this remember, I take the opportunity to welcome you to our ongoing discussion on PPP discrimination, anti-freedom posturing, as we raise consciousness of all Ghanaians that they are not helpless unless they turn over and give up the fight for basic rights and freedom. And unless they know the sufferings of the fellow citizens, thereby further encouraging the abuse by this government. Comrades, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get it.
All right, folks, that's how things went down. Man himself, the man himself, Mr. Lincoln Lewis, there, and he's part of that organization, Institute for Action Against Discrimination. Institute for Action Against Discrimination. And what a presentation he made there. What a presentation he made there on Saturday, and that was at Golden Grove, at the community center there at Golden Grove. Guys, that's going to do it for our time on our podcast. Who Vex? A week of pressure, folks. We started from the U.S. We touched on Tokuma Ogunseye's release this morning at the Vigilance Magistrates Court, where he was at the Vigilance Magistrates Court, where he was put on $100,000 bail. For those of you who joined us late and are now catching up, and then we touched on that presentation on discrimination and the PPP by Mr. Lincoln Lewis. That's going to do it for us at this end, guys. We're going to see you guys back on our final broadcast for the day at 8 tonight. Shamar, we see you there. We see Singh. We see Kevin and Bantu King, Erwin Don, and all the other folks who've joined us today. Before you run off, folks, share the live. Smash that emoji button for us. Guys, a lot of things happening in our world. A lot of things happening in our world. Quite quickly, Trump got a big week ahead of him. We're going to watch to see what's happening in the U.S. We touched on what went down there today at that magistrate's court in Antigua. Locked out. Can't find the keys. We touched on the nurses. 3,000 nurses to be trained in 3 years. What are they paying them with? This system? What kind of training? That's one of the questions the nurses on the live ask. What kind of training? And again, our brother Tokuma Ouni released on $100,000 bail as he appeared before the Vigilance Magistrates Court, among other things, inciting racial hostility. We're going to have more on that for you, folks. We're going to have more on that this evening. But that's going to do it for us at this end, guys. That's going to do it for us at this end. Thanks for joining us, you lovely, wonderful folks. You got a story for us? 627-6963. Tech Ups. You got a story for us? Let us know. We want to hear from you guys. And folks, it's month 10. It's past month 10. We turned the new month. This is how we do it, folks. Program to program. Week after week, month after month. We are 2 years plus outside. We're available via Cash App. We want to thank you guys, for your love, your support, your generosity. This is how we keep doing it. It's because of you. We're available via Cash App and Zelle and PayPal, MMG, MoneyGram, and Western Union. We ain't building a house and we ain't buying fancy car for ourselves. Personal gains goes towards making these programs better each and every time. Thank you guys for joining us. That's going to do it for us at this end. Good folks, stay safe out there and stay woke. We told you on the morning program that Russian blogger who got blown up, somebody put something in a figurine, give it to him, an explosive. 30 other persons injured over the weekend. Stay woke, folks. Stay woke out there, brothers and sisters. Take your time, peel your pint. That's going to do it for us. We're going to see you guys back this evening. Stay safe, guys. That's our time. That's our program. Stay safe.